Wrestling legend Buff Bagwell, whose flamboyant charisma and unforgettable presence defined an era of professional wrestling, has undergone one of the most harrowing trials of his life, a partial leg amputation that has shaken fans and friends alike. On Thursday, the former WCW and NWO star had a significant portion of his right leg amputated, marking the culmination of years of pain, resilience, and an ongoing fight that began with a single moment back in 2020. The news, first shared by his longtime friend Steve Stasiak, has sent a ripple of grief and reflection throughout the wrestling community. Stasiak, who has known Bagwell for decades, posted the heartbreaking update on Facebook early Friday morning. In his post, he explained that the surgery was necessitated by complications stemming from a serious car accident that occurred 5 years ago, an incident that dramatically altered the trajectory of Bagwell's life. The injuries from his 2020 accident never fully healed, Stasiak wrote. He gave it everything he had to avoid this outcome, but that fight led him here. For many fans, the news was a shock, but for those closest to Marcus Buff Bagwell, it was a devastating conclusion to a battle they had witnessed up close. This was not just a medical procedure, was the end of a long, painful chapter, one filled with repeated attempts at recovery, endless physical therapy, and surgeries that ultimately failed to bring about the healing he had so desperately hoped for. Stasiak's post included a poignant image: Bagwell, now 55, lying in a hospital bed, dressed in a standard medical gown, surrounded by wires and monitors. The most striking detail in the photograph wasn't just the absence of everything below his right thigh, was the expression on his face. There, even amidst the bleakness of the situation, was a small, bittersweet smile. Whether it was for the camera, for his loved ones, or a reflection of sheer exhaustion is hard to tell, but it was there. And behind it was the story of a man who had been fighting, not just physical pain, but emotional and psychological battles for years. To fully grasp the weight of this moment, you have to understand who Buff Bagwell was and is. For fans of World Championship Wrestling in the 1990s, Bagwell was one of the most charismatic, electric performers on television. With his perfectly sculpted physique, signature top hat, and cocky swagger, he embodied the over-the-top, in-your-face style of professional wrestling that defined the WCW's golden era. As a founding member of the iconic New World Order NWO, alongside legends like Hulk Hogan, Kevin Nash, and Scott Hall, Bagwell was part of wrestling history. He was loud, he was brash, he was buff, and buff was the stuff. But fame, as it often does, came with a price. The same flamboyance that made Bagwell a star also made him a lightning rod for controversy. His career, while impressive, was also plagued by injuries, backstage politics, and personal demons that would follow him long after the cameras stopped rolling. After WCW folded and was bought by WWE in 2001, Bagwell's stint with the new company was infamously short-lived. The transition was brutal, and in many ways, it marked the beginning of a long descent. What followed were years of struggles with addiction, with depression, with finding purpose after the bright lights faded. Bagwell, like many wrestlers of his era, found himself battling more than just opponents in the ring. He battled to stay relevant, to stay healthy, and eventually, to simply survive. Then came the car crash in 2020. The accident, which occurred on a seemingly ordinary day, was anything but minor. Bagwell was seriously injured, suffering damage to his right leg that would haunt him for years to come. At first, the prognosis was hopeful. There were surgeries, there was rehab, there were moments of optimism, when it seemed like he might recover fully. But the body, especially a body that has endured the punishing world of professional wrestling, has its limits. Despite his best efforts, the leg simply never healed. It became a source of chronic pain and infection, deteriorating his quality of life and pushing him into a corner he tried again and again to avoid. 4 or 5 long years, Bagwell waged war against his own body. He tried everything: medications, alternative treatments, lifestyle changes, but the leg continued to decline. By the time the decision was made to amputate, it wasn't just about alleviating pain. It was about saving his life in a deeply emotional video posted on his YouTube channel just hours before the surgery. Bagwell appeared alongside his fiancée, speaking directly to his fans. His voice, usually confident and booming, carried a soft, almost broken cadence. "This is the result of a 5-year battle trying to save my leg," he said. "We did everything. I mean everything. But this was the only way forward." What was perhaps most striking about the video wasn't the gravity of what he was facing, but the calm acceptance with which he approached it. Bagwell wasn't angry. He wasn't even bitter. He was tired of the pain, tired of the fight, but he was also grateful for his supporters, for the love he had received, and for the chance to finally move past the pain and reclaim some measure of peace. Steve Stasiak, who owns Book Pro Wrestlers and has worked closely with Bagwell over the years, made it clear just how difficult this chapter has been. "I've known Buff a long time," he wrote. "I've seen him in the spotlight, I've seen him behind the scenes. And I've seen him fight through things most people never even hear about. This is hard. For him, for everyone who knows and loves him." Stasiak's words underscore the deep sense of loss that accompanies the amputation, not just the physical loss of a limb, but the emotional toll it takes on someone whose entire identity was once tied to his physical prowess. For Bagwell, a man who built his name on strength, speed, and agility, losing part of his body feels symbolic. It's not just the end of a chapter, it's the closing of a book he never wanted to finish. And yet, there's something undeniably heroic in Bagwell's response. Rather than wallow in despair, he has chosen to face this tragedy head-on, with dignity and resolve. The image of him smiling in that hospital bed, even in the face of such loss, speaks volumes about his character. He has weathered storms that would break most people, and still, he fights. Stasiak ended his message with a simple but powerful request. "If you're reading this, I just ask that you send a little love out into the world for Buff. No grand gestures, just something real, a thought, a prayer, a moment." Those words have resonated with fans across the globe. Messages of support have flooded social media, with fellow wrestlers, industry insiders, and fans expressing their sorrow and solidarity. For those who grew up watching Bagwell in the ring, it feels like watching a superhero face his greatest battle, not against an opponent, but against time, injury, and fate. Bagwell's story is not just one of a wrestler, it's the story of a man who climbed the heights of fame, fell into darkness, and now is trying to rise again, this time not on stage, but in life. His journey is a reminder that even the strongest among us can be vulnerable, and that true strength isn't about muscles or fame. It's about resilience. It's about heart. In the days and weeks to come, Buff Bagwell will begin a new chapter, one filled with rehabilitation, adjustment, and perhaps even reinvention. Whether he chooses to remain in the public eye or withdraw into privacy, his fans will undoubtedly continue to cheer for him, just as they did when he stood victorious in the ring, arms raised in triumph. Because, at the end of the day, Buff is still the stuff. In the wake of news of Buff Bagwell's leg amputation, memories and echoes from his storied past have come flooding back. One can't help but look at that hospital bed photo and see a man whose life story reads like an epic saga, performer known for swagger and bravado, now vulnerable, battered by fate, quietly smiling as if to say, "I'm still here, and I'm still me." That juxtaposition between larger-than-life showman and wounded human gives this moment a depth that transcends wrestling fandom. What we are witnessing is not just a medical milestone, but a portrait of resilience.